Lewin?
Your Honor, I just inquired of the defense, and I told them one of the issues that we're having is Mr. Durst has taken the tact of basically saying that either the discovery isn't there, he believes the detective said such and such, wrote such and such, etc. So what I told the defense is that they have a choice from my perspective. Either they can stipulate that in fact, as an example, there is no report, no evidence, no statement that's ever been given by Mr. Durst that his wife was getting drug rehab. There are a number of these issues that have come up. I've told them that alternatively, what my choice is I will have to have a detective who is familiar with all the discovery in this case take the stand and be asked questions about reviewing the discovery. Is there any discovery in this case of a statement by anybody that says X, or a statement by Bob Durst that says Y? The defense knows what the discovery is, and I told them they're not stipulating that in fact Bob Durst didn't say that. He's certainly free to argue, I told Detective Struck so-and-so, but I guess he didn't write it down, etc. But the idea that he can get up there and say, well, I'm sure I told Detective Struck this, the information doesn't exist. It's not out there.
I'd like to save some time here. There is the idea, hypothetically, if he did say that, it's a poor substitute for either a stipulation, or you could have a detective. I've seen it many times where the detective will testify, but you just go down the shopping list. There's 10 items. Any evidence of this, any evidence of that, and go through the items. So that's fine too. It
would be a long shopping list, and I don't really want to spend the time.
Well,
so I just brought it up to them.
No, I really think it's one question per item. I don't think there are 40 of them. There might be, but 40, 50 items. But even that is 50 questions. You should be able to cover it in half an hour. If it's no, if you do it right. But sure, I'd rather spend 1 minute than 1 hour.
Right. So that's why I just proposed that to the defense. I guess they want to think about it. But again, they know what the discovery is. They know what's there. And
sure. And when you ask Mr. Durst what is the discovery, that's a little awkward. I mean, he can be assumed to know what it is, but really it's the lawyers who have the material, and presumably they go over everything with him. But I guess not necessarily. It's a little awkward. So I think either the stipulation or calling the detective would be better.
That's what I would do. He's also been in, nothing I've asked him is anything that has not been covered. Almost all of it by some witness in court where he's been here. But the court's right.
You could do that also. I mean, you could also confront him with the statement. It's just so time consuming. I appreciate. I mean, hypothetically, let's just say that you did because we all heard it. Yeah. So that's another way to do it, but I don't really like it.
Well, I'm trying to save time. That's why I brought this up, Your Honor.
Yeah.
I guess they'll think about it and let us know.
Well, we haven't seen the stipulation.
Okay, good. Write it up, and maybe there'll be a stipulation at the end. Just do it at the end. Okay. I'm sure you're keeping a running tab on that stuff. So if you're not, then construct one.
That there's this.
The defendant is present with Mr. Chesnoff, Mr. Lewis, and Mr. DeGuerin, and we have Mr. Lewin, Mr. Miata, Mr. Henderson, and Mr. Balian. I wanted to just confirm a couple of dates with jurors. Now, juror number 4, you've got an appointment, so 2:45 on the you're leaving at 2:45 on the 31st in order to make it to your appointment on that day? Okay. And then Sure, number 12, you changed an appointment for us, and did you move it to the 2nd or a different day to leave for your?
Are we gonna be here on Friday, this Friday?
No,
Okay, then I'm okay.
you're okay. So Thursday, September 2, you're not going.
On September 2nd, hang on a second. So my trip is gonna be on Friday, this Friday. And I'm leaving on Thursday evening,
This Thursday evening.
yes.
Okay, and are you leaving? What time are you going to be able to serve the full day, or
We can leave by 4, that would be really helpful.
so a 4 p.m. departure from our court will work out for you,
Yeah.
and then you're going to be free. I had thought you might have moved it to the 2nd, but better if you did. You didn't move it to that day. You moved it to the Friday, to 4 p.m. Okay, great. I got a couple other loose ends. I'm just trying to work it out. It looks like I'm still working on the evidence part, but you're going to be deliberating at least in at least the beginning of September, right? So I don't know how long deliberation will take, but I just want to have some guidelines on that. So I'll get back to you when I have a little bit more information. I know I'm being cryptic, but I'm trying to find out a little bit more, and then I can let you know for sure. So with that, then, Mr. Lewin, you may continue with your cross-examination.
Thank you. Mr. Durst, how would you describe the efforts that you made to locate your missing wife?
I did everything possible.
One of the things you did was to initially offer a $100,000 reward, is that correct?
Correct.
But then you very quickly lowered it to $15,000, is that correct?
No, the McCormack family offered $15,000. Had nothing to do with me.
The reward that you had, you hired a private investigator named Jerry Martin, is that correct?
No, I never heard of Jerry Martin.
Can you give me a copy, gentlemen, of 150468? I don't want you to put it up on the screen, but I want to show Mr. Durst. 150468. When I say the name Jerry Martin, Mr. Durst, you have no memory of hiring a private investigator out of the Yellow Pages who specialized in finding missing persons?
I never hired Jerry Martin. I never heard of Jerry Martin until this moment.
All right, who is Flo Jones?
She was my secretary.
And isn't it true that a couple of days after Kathy disappeared, you told Flo Jones Kathy is missing and she's not coming back?
No.
If you had said that to her, Mr. Durst, would you admit it now?
Yes.
You would agree, Mr. Durst, that by admitting that comment, you would in essence be saying something that would be highly incriminating. Is that correct?
Overruled.
If I said that I told Flo Jones that Kathy was not coming back, that would be highly incriminating. But I did not tell Flo Jones anything like that.
No, but the question is, you said that if you had said it, you would admit it. So I'm trying to, Mr.
Correct. If I had said it, I would admit it.
So, Mr. Durst, I'm trying to reconcile that answer with the answer that you previously have given, that if you killed Kathy, you would lie about it. can you please explain how you can reconcile those two answers?
Overruled.
I think it's two entirely different things. If I had killed Kathy, I would lie about it.
Mr. Durst, if in fact you were telling Flo Jones that Kathy is missing and she's not coming back, wouldn't that basically be an admission, since you knew that she was not coming back, that you had to have killed her?
Having difficulty figuring out whether my answer is yes or no. I did not tell Flo Jones that Kathy was not coming back. If I had, I would admit it.
So my question is, Mr. Durst, is would you agree that if you had said the statement, Kathy is missing and she's not coming back, that the only way you could know she's not coming back is, in essence, if you had killed her? Would you agree with that?
Trying to think of some possible other alternative. Maybe if Kathy had told me that she had fallen in love and was moving to Costa Rica, that would let me, I would say that she's not coming back.
But that's not what happened, is it?
No.
So you would agree, Mr. Durst, that if in fact you had made that comment shortly after Kathy disappeared, that she's missing and not coming back, that in essence, if you had said that, that would pretty much be a confession that you were responsible for her disappearance, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Durst, I'm going to give you a copy of this. You don't need to read it now. May I hand this to the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
So at the break, I'm going to ask you to take a look at that, and then we can go from there. We'll come back to it.
So it's there after the break.
Yes, you can save that for the break. All right, Mr. Durst, let's talk about what's been commonly referred to as the dig note. You know what that is, correct?
Yeah.
Can you put the dig note up, please?
57 WW.
Do you recognize this, Mr. Durst?
I recognize it.
You wrote the items on the left side other than the circle around dig. Is that correct? That's your handwriting.
Correct.
You did not write the printed words on the right. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you did not write the circle around dig. Is that correct?
Correct.
It says town dump, bridge, dig, boat, other, shovel, and the last one is very hard to read. Do you agree?
John, it's shovel or question mark.
Yeah, shovel or question mark, thank you. And the last line is hard to read. Can you tell us what that says, since you wrote it?
We're all a little hard to read. It says check cars, dash truck, rent.
Check cars / truck and then rent? Is that what it says?
Yes.
So, Mr. Durst, would you agree that just looking at it, this looks like a list of how you would get rid of a body?
That's what it looks like to you. It does not look like that to me at all.
So, Mr. Durst, you testified on direct examination. Let me back up. You're aware that this was found in the trash can in your bedroom shortly after Kathy disappeared, correct?
I thought it was a trash can in the living room. but it was shortly after Kathy disappeared, and it was one of probably 5 or 6 different notes that I wrote to myself about what I wanted to do during the weeks of February 1st to February 15th, when I was not going to go to the office.
So, Mr. Durst, is it your testimony? I know you're saying that it is not a list of how you would get rid of a body, but my question to you is, if somebody were looking at the list and reading it, would you agree that it would be a reasonable inference to believe that given when that list was written and what it says, that it would be reasonable to believe that it was a list involving getting rid of a body?
I think this is your most extreme hypothetical. If somebody read that, they would see it says town dump, which was my reference, that I was going to tell the high school kids who took care of the house to take our rotting sailboat to the town dump. Bridge is an abbreviation of Bridgehampton, where Kathy and I intended to rent a house for the month of July of 1982. DIG is for digital. I had brought the MS-DOS Microsoft Controls book with the computer, which I was planning to work on. Boat is the sailboat that needed to go to the town dump. I don't know what I meant by other. Shovel was the snow shovels, and I had asked the high school kids who were going to get rid of the sailboat at the dump to buy 2 snow shovels, because ours had been stolen. Check cars, dash truck, rent, was that the kids were supposed to rent a pickup truck to put the boat in.
So a high school kid is supposed to rent a vehicle? Where can high school kids rent cars and trucks? Are you aware of such a place?
The high school kid was 18.
So, Mr. Durst, would you agree that this story you just told, you never told that story to Detective Struck, to Andrew Jarecki, to any member of the media, to myself and detectives during our interview? Is that correct?
Nobody ever asked me about my scribbly note to myself.
No one, so it's your testimony that no one ever asked you about the dig note?
No one ever asked me about the dig note.
Let's play RD 494, 41812, page 1015, line 9 to page 1016, line 2.
This was previously People's 277, on the transcript 277A, page 6.
Thank you.
Town, dump, bridge, dig, boat, other, shovel, or check, car, truck, rental. So this is my handwriting. Now, I have a feeling there's something out here. But I have no idea what that means, what I was writing. And she found this in the trash around the time when Kathy disappeared.
Yeah. So I think
Did she figure it all out?
evidently
Town
not.
dump bridge. I don't know where the town dump is up there. They collected garbage. We never took anything to a dump.
Yeah, I mean, I think what she said to the police was, well, this was the list that Bob made after Kathy was dead. These were his options on what to do with the body.
The town dump or the bridge or the dig, the boat. We had a sailboat on the lake.
Do you agree, Mr. Durst, that you did not mention anything about any of the details you just testified to? Correct?
It says that we had a sailboat on the lake. It says that town collected garbage. We never went to the dump.
Mr. Durst, you just gave a long dissertation today regarding Barry Weiner or Weiner and what each thing meant, including the dig meant digital. Did you say that during this question with Mr. Jarecki?
I don't remember.
Well, I just played it for you. Did you hear it?
That was a Jarecki.
Yes.
So what you just played is what I said.
So, Mr. Durst, if you're saying, and you gave very detailed explanation, why wouldn't you have mentioned everything you just testified to about the high school kid and what all these things meant? How come you didn't say that to Andrew Jarecki?
I don't know.
Could it be, Mr. Durst, that you literally made this up when you first testified on August 11, 2021, and that it is completely and absolutely a 100% certifiable lie, start to finish?
Objection, it's, the objection is sustained, it's argumentative.
Mr. Durst, isn't it true that the reason that you did not mention this to Andrew Jarecki is because it's a lie?
No.
Would you agree, Mr. Durst, that the fact that you're able to come up with a lot of details, you yourself would agree that the fact that you mention details doesn't make what you say true, correct?
What I said was true.
Mr. Durst, since you've known about Barry Weiner, where is he?
Where is who?
Well, you have a witness here, apparently, who can come in and can testify to exactly what that dig note meant. Where is he? Have you made efforts to find him, to bring him to court? Where is he?
Shifts the burden of proof.
I'm sorry?
Shifts the burden of proof.
Oh, no, overruled.
Do I have a question?
Okay.
So what is the question?
The question is, Mr. Durst, since you are aware that Barry Weiner can testify that this was not a dig list, this was a list for him, what efforts have you made to bring Mr. Weiner to court, to identify him?
I have no idea where Barry Weiner is.
Where did he live at the time?
He lived nearby where we live.
What street? Who were his parents?
Barry Weiner was a high school kid who lived near our house in South Salem.
Near your house means where? Where did he live?
I was never at his house.
Who were his parents?
Barry Weiner.
Barry Weiner has his father is also Barry Weiner?
I assume so. I never met his father.
So conveniently, you don't know anybody's name, where they live, nothing. Is that correct?
So you don't know anybody. A high school kid's name was Barry Weiner. He lived near where our house was.
Well, South Salem is a pretty small community, correct?
Correct.
Did you go back in preparation for this case over the last 6 years and try to figure out who Barry Weiner was and where he lived so you could call him as a witness?
No.
Why?
Why?
Yes, why wouldn't you do that?
You know, why would I do that?
Well, don't you agree, Mr. Durst? Let's take it one step at a time. Do you agree that the version that you've given, even if true, is a bit hard to believe?
I don't believe it's a bit hard to believe.
So that sounds like a completely reasonable, rational explanation to you. Is that correct?
I think each of the things I stated was what I remember the situation was.
So when you first said this statement on August 11, 2021, did you have any idea that very likely on cross-examination that I was going to take it apart as I'm doing? Did it occur to you in advance, hey, you know what? Boy, I wonder if Lewin is going to end up asking me about this. Did you think about that?
I have no idea what your question is.
I'm asking you, Mr. Durst, is when you first mentioned this on August 11th, weren't you aware that you were going to get questions about where's Barry Weiner, who is he, how come he's not here? You knew those questions were going to be coming, correct?
I had no idea, no.
So you didn't realize until I just mentioned it right now that you would want to have information about who Barry Weiner is, where he lived, where he is currently. Never occurred to you that was going to be an area of inquiry. Is that correct?
I think you're answering your own question.
No, I'm asking you. It might be obvious, but I'm asking you the answer.
All I know is he was a high school kid. He mowed the lawn. He took care of the plantings. And he had agreed to rent a pickup truck and to carry out our riding sailboat.
So if all that is true, why didn't you say that to Andrew Jarecki?
I don't remember.
Well, would you agree, Mr. Durst, that the fact that you didn't say it to Andrew Jarecki is highly suspicious? Would you agree?
No.
Would you agree, Mr. Durst, that other than you saying this event happened, there's not one shred of other evidence to support it? It all comes down to believing your word. Would you agree?
I think if I asked Bill Mayer about our riding sailfish, he would very probably confirm what I'm saying. It's also possible that Bill or Ruth Mayer would be able to confirm that Barry Weiner was a local high school kid who mowed people's lawns.
Well, Mr. Durst, whether Barry Weiner is a real person and mowed people's lawns, the question I have for you is, why didn't you tell Andrew Jarecki this story about what Barry Weiner was supposed to do for you? How come it's just coming out now on August 11th of this year?
I guess I did not either think of it or think it was important.
And you agree that your attorney certainly could have asked Bill and Ruth Mayer when they testified about Barry Weiner, correct?
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes.
At an appropriate time to address something with the court. I just
Okay.
It's a continuing objection, Your Honor,
To what?
to asking a defendant what he's supposed to do in a trial.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's overruled.
Can you answer my question, Mr. Durst, please?
Why did I not ask the mayors when they testified about Barry Weiner? I guess the answer is I don't know.
And Mr. Durst, would you agree that in order to believe this story about Barry Weiner, the jury has to believe you, correct?
Correct.
All right, let's talk about throwing belongings away. You agree that within a week of Kathy's disappearance, you threw all of her stuff from East 86th Street apartment, including her medical books, into the trash compactor, correct?
Totally incorrect. I threw out nothing of Kathy's stuff.
So how was it if Kathy was gone, if she had disappeared, how was it that her stuff ended up jamming up the compactor, as Karen Minatello said, the week after she disappeared? Can you explain that?
I think Doreen Egan, who I had agreed to sublease the apartment to, got rid of some of the stuff that Kathy had said she did not want. When Kathy moved from 12 East 86th Street to 37 Riverside Drive in the weeks after Labor Day 1981, Kathy took everything she wanted from 12 East 86th Street to 37 Riverside Drive. What was left was stuff that Kathy did not want.
And you heard the testimony, Mr. Durst, that included her medical books?
I have no idea.
Well, Karen Minatello testified that she specifically went and looked, and they were a bunch of Kathy's medical books. I want you to assume that's true. Can you explain why Kathy would be throwing away her medical books before she's graduated, before she has taken her post boards, before she has started her residency? Can you explain that?
Kathy took everything at 12 East 86th Street that she wanted to keep to 37 Riverside Drive.
And
what was left at 12 East 86th Street, Kathy did not want.
would you agree, Mr. Durst, that, like my last question, in order for the jury to believe what you've just said, they have to believe you are telling the truth, correct?
I'm trying to think of who else would have known what Kathy had said. Maybe the lady Doreen Egan, who was our residential leasing agent, and who I had agreed to sublet the apartment to, spoke with Kathy. But when Kathy physically moved herself to 37 Riverside Drive, she took everything that she wanted. She made clear what was left at 12 East 86th Street she did not want.
And Mr. Durst, when you say what just happened, and when you say what she made clear, you're saying what she said to you. You're saying what she made clear to you. So my question is, do you agree that for a jury to believe what you just said, they have to believe you? Agreed?
I think Kathy told one of her fellow medical students, Larry Cohn, that she was moving everything of importance to her to Riverside Drive.
So, Mr. Durst, is it a coincidence that you and I both know Larry Cohen's dead? Or does that just happen to be something that you're throwing out there? Another dead person that can help?
I have no knowledge
Sustained.
whether Larry Cohn is living or is dead.
Mr. Durst.
I do know that not that long ago, he was practicing medicine in Danbury, Connecticut, which is where Western Connecticut State College is.
Mr. Durst. listen to my question. Do you agree that right now, in order to believe this story, which you are the only person who is providing evidence about, that the jury has to believe you?
I am not agreeing to that. I believe both Doreen Egan and Larry Cohn would confirm that Kathy took everything she wanted at 12 East 86th Street to Riverside Drive.
Have they provided evidence in this case, Mr. Durst? Have they testified?
No.
So again, the jury, with the evidence they have, you would agree that in order to believe this version of events, they have to believe you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, you also got rid of Kathy's property from the South Salem house, correct?
Not correct.
You did not. You heard Liz Jones's testimony. Is it your position that that testimony was inaccurate?
Extremely so.
And what
the
was...
only thing that we removed from the South Salem house was the sewing machine that Kathy had given to Janet Fink, and that Janet Fink had not picked up for 6 months. Kathy told me to tell Liz Jones if Liz Jones wanted the sewing machine, she could have the sewing machine.
Mr. Durst, do you know of any reason or any motivation that Elizabeth Jones would have to lie?
Well, I certainly heard her testimony, which went around in circles. At one point, she said she told the detectives that there was blood all over the dishwasher. Excuse me. That there was blood all over the that there was blood all over the dishwasher, and the detectives just said they were uninterested in bloody dishwashers.
Do you need a drink of water, or are you okay? You see,
I'm okay.
no, my question was, do you know of a reason, of a motivation, why Liz Jones would lie?
Why would she tell the detectives that there was blood on the dishwasher when there clearly was no blood on the dishwasher?
Mr. Durst, listen to my question. I'm not asking you about what she actually said. I'm merely asking you, are you aware, is there some reason that you know of why Liz Jones would have a motivation in this case to lie?
Come up with people's motives. Why did she tell the detectives that there was blood on the dishwasher?
All right, on February 18th, 1982, you had dinner with Tom and Mary Hughes at, I'm probably not pronouncing this right, La Manganette? Is that correct? That is Maganette.
It's not something I remember.
Do you remember telling Tom and Mary that you had spoken to Kathy after she arrived home at Riverside Drive the Sunday evening that she disappeared?
No, I do not.
Well, that's the same story that you originally gave to Detective Struck, correct?
I do not remember ever having dinner with Tom and Mary Hughes after Kathy disappeared.
Do you remember discussing Kathy's disappearance with them?
Sure.
Do you remember telling them that Kathy, you had spoken to her after she had arrived home at Riverside Drive? Do you remember telling them that?
I did not tell them that. I did not tell them that. I was about to say they did not testify to that, but they were not called to testify.
So my question to you then is, you said you talked to them. What was your story to them about when you had last seen and talked to Kathy? What did you tell them?
I told them what had happened, that I had put Kathy on the train in Katona for the 9:17 on Sunday night, January 31st. I told them about how the medical school had reached out to Kathy.
Did you tell them, Mr. Durst, did you repeat the lie, which you've now acknowledged is a lie, that you told Detective Struck that you had spoken to Kathy after she had allegedly arrived home? Did you tell them that?
I did not tell them that, and I do believe that if you thought I had, you would have called them to testify.
Well, Mr. Durst, so my question is, if you didn't tell them the same lie that you had now admitted that you told Detective Struck, what did you tell them about having talked to Kathy after she got home?
I did not tell them anything about having talked to Kathy. And it would be very easy to clear this up if either you or my 4 attorneys had subpoenaed Tom or Mary Hughes to testify, something that I was in favor of.
Well, Mr. Durst, you're aware that your attorneys have the same power of subpoena that I do, correct? You're aware of that, is that right?
Object. Yes, burden of proof.
Well,
No burden of proof, only defense.
that's well, the burden of proof of the charges is upon the people. That part's right, but this question does not violate that burden. Overruled.
Isn't it true, Mr. Durst, that in talking to Tom and Mary after Kathy disappeared, you told them that you had found a dirty coffee pot, not anything about a Coke bottle, and that proved to you that Kathy had been there? Did you tell them that?
I told them that I found a Coke bottle and an ashtray with a cigarette in it.
Did you ever mention
There might have been a coffee pot, but I don't remember seeing a coffee pot.
And did you also offer Mary and Tom Kathy's apartment a little over 2 weeks after she disappeared, the East 86th Street apartment? Did you tell them they could have it?
Did I offer our apartment?
Yes, the East 86th Street apartment. Did you offer it to Tom and Mary for them to take over within 2 weeks of Kathy disappearing?
I offered it to Doreen Egan. I certainly did not offer it to Tom and Mary.
In 1982, your defense attorney was Nick Scapetta, is that right? Is that correct?
He was not my defense attorney.
He was an attorney you hired who was a criminal defense attorney to represent you during the investigation involving your missing wife. Is that correct?
Dad hired Nick Scapetta because Nick Scapetta was a well-known investigator.
He was a criminal defense attorney. Is that correct?
But I had not hired him as my defense attorney.
What did you hire him for?
To find Kathy.
And isn't it true, Mr. Durst, that you have spoken at length about what would be confidential communications involving you and Mr. Scapetta, but you have spoken about those conversations to, as an example, Andrew Jarecki and Mark Smerling. Is that correct?
I don't remember what I told Andrew Jarecki about Nick Scapetta.
Isn't it true that you told Andrew Jarecki at Bates number 169978, lines 6 through 9, that Nick told you not to lie to the police, but you didn't follow his advice? Is that correct?
I don't remember ever asking Nick Scapetta if I should lie to the police.
No, not that you asked him, that he told you to be honest with the police. Correct, he told you to be honest with the police. That is what you told Andrew Jarecki and Mark Smerling, correct?
I don't recall what I said to Andrew Jarecki about Nick Scapetta.
Can you put up page Bates 169978, lines 6 through 9? I'm not going to mark this, I'm just going to show you, Mr. Durst. And he says, referring to Nick Scapetta, listen, you can't lie to the police. No more, period. There's no rationale for lying to the police. Don't lie to the police. That's what you said Nick told you, correct?
That's what I said.
But you didn't follow that advice, did you? You lied to him anyway, correct?
Correct.
Do you remember, let's talk about Ed Wright for a moment. Ed Wright was a private investigator who worked for Scapetta, is that correct?
Correct.
And he was an ex-NYPD detective, is that correct?
Correct.
And you understand that once you discuss conversations and interactions that you had with Mr. Wright, once you talk about them, you understand the concept that they're no longer privileged, correct? Do you understand that?
I think the question is badly put.
Isn't it true, Mr. Durst, that you told Andrew Jarecki that Ed Wright was able to get information from the NYPD at the time that he was working on your case in 1982 for you and your attorney that wasn't supposed to be available outside the NYPD? Is that correct?
I told Andrew Jarecki quite the opposite.
Okay.
That Nick Scapetta brought Ed Wright to a meeting with my dad and I.
Motion to strike is non-responsive.
Just a moment. That's what he said. Hold on.
That's about a specific statement that he said. He
I
wants to
know,
talk
wait
about
a
different
second.
one.
Isn't it true you told Andrew Jarecki? Although I told him the opposite to stand.
Can you please put up LADA 170228? I'm going to read this out loud to you. You say, you're asked, the Ed Wright stuff was the stuff that I'm always curious about. This is starting at line 4. You responded, Ed Wright was able to get lots of stuff from the police. He knew the police. The police liked him. He was able to get information that was theoretically unavailable. Who thought what? Who said what? You just said you never told Jarecki that.
That is what Ed Wright said he was able to do, but he was not able to do anything like that. The police seemingly did not like him.
But my question is that you told Andrew Jarecki this information about Ed Wright, and you just said a moment ago you never said it. You agree? Yep, you said it, correct?
He said, Ed Wright, said he would be able to get lots of information from the police because the police liked him. It turned out that the police did not like him and that he was not able to get any information that was not publicly available.
Did you own a Burberry coat in 1982? Burberry?
Well, in 1982,
Yes.
yes, when I worked in New York, both Kathy and I wore Burberry trench coats.
I want to ask you, at the time that Kathy disappeared, how much interaction at that point were you having with Douglas?
Same as before she disappeared.
Which is very little, correct?
Correct.
Is it fair to say that by 1982, you hated Douglas, and you believe that he hated you, is that correct?
Did I hate him in 1982? That probably is true.
And would you agree, Mr. Durst, that even in 1982, if I were to ask you who your biggest enemy in the world was, it was Douglas Durst, correct?
I don't know that I would say that, but in saying that I probably hated Douglas in 1982, I would have to say it was mutual, because he probably hated me in 1982.
Was there anybody you can think of that in 1982 you hated more than Douglas?
My hatred for Douglas grew the longer I worked in the company.
Well, I'm not asking if you were making plans
I'm
to...
trying to think of people I hated. I don't hate that easy.
Would you agree, Mr. Durst, that back in 1982, when you were having meetings with Nick Scapetta and Ed Wright, you have previously said that Douglas and your father were present during those interviews. Is that correct? That's what you've said, right?
Some of them.
Mr. Durst, why would Douglas Durst, your brother who you hate, why would he be in meetings involving such a sensitive issue for you if the two of you did not get along? Can you explain that?
Yes, we did not choose to be brothers.
Mr. Durst, you understood even back then that by having your father and your brother listen, participate in such meetings with your attorney, that you were waiving any attorney-client privilege that you would have otherwise have had.
Sustained.
Mr. Durst, are you aware of what attorney-client privilege is?
Pretty much. But whether the three of us could meet with a lawyer would result in a problem with the privilege is not something I would be aware of.
Let me ask you, would you believe that Mr. Scapetta would have been aware of it, though?
Let's call it speculation.
Sustained.
Your Honor, I would like the court to take judicial notice that under the rules of California and of New York, that having a
It should
meeting...
be taken upside
What?
down.
I think that's true.
Sure. Let's take it up sidebar. I'm good.
All right, let's go.
Guess you might as well take it upside down. All right, glad we went sidebar.
May I continue, Your Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Durst, would you agree that at the time that Kathy disappeared, that your closest friends, other than Susan Berman, were Nick Chaven and Doug Oliver?
No,
Did you tell Andrew Jarecki on 12/11/2010, quote, "I had two best friends, Doug Oliver and Nick Chaven, both in real estate"?
if I said that, I said that. I never really considered Nick Chaven to be a best friend.
Would you agree that your oldest friends at that time were Stuart Altman and Emily Altman?
Oldest friends, yes.
And in fact, you previously told Susan Giordano that. Is that correct?
I previously told anybody who asked that Stuart Altman and Emily Altman were my oldest friends.
You know, let's play RD 413, 12/11/10, page 26, lines 2 through 4.
Part of People's 268. Thank you. 268.
I had two best boyfriends, Doug Oliver and Nick Chaven, both in real estate.
So, Mr. Durst, did you not just say in that clip that Nick Chaven and Doug Oliver were your two best friends who were men?
That's what I said.
So you're not denying that you said it, you're just saying when you said it, it wasn't true? Or have you changed your mind because Nick Chaven has come into court and said that you confessed murder to him?
I don't think I ever thought Nick Chaven was a best friend.
Then why did you say that?
I don't know.
Well, Mr. Durst, you seem very careful with the things that you say. So my question is this something that Andrew Jarecki made you say?
No,
So if you said Nick Chaven was one of your two best friends and it wasn't true, why would you say it?
I don't know.
Would you agree, Mr. Durst, that the fact that one of the two people that you've said is one of your best friends has come into court and has provided extremely damaging evidence in this case against you? Would you agree?
I think Nick Chaven's evidence is not credible.
Would you agree, Mr. Durst, that if believed, it's game over? Would you agree?
If Nick Chaven is believed,
Sustained.
Would you agree, Mr. Durst, that if Nick Chaven's statement about you confessing to him is believed, that demonstrates that you killed Susan Berman?
I think Nick Chaven's statement that after not having seen him for 25 years, I called him up, said I want to take you out to dinner so that I can confess to you that I killed Susan Berman and Kathy Durst. And after confessing to you, you can sleep in my bed is so highly ridiculous that no one will believe it.
Mr. Durst, you're aware that Nick Chaven never testified that you confessed to killing Kathy Durst. In fact, he was very clear that you never confessed to killing Kathy Durst, correct?
I never confessed to killing Kathy Durst, and I never confessed to killing Susan Berman.
That's not what I asked you. Are you aware that Nick Chaven, when he testified, was very clear that he never heard you confess to killing Kathy Durst? You're aware of that, correct?
I thought Nick Chaven couldn't decide whether I had confessed to killing Kathy Durst or not.
No, Nick Chaven testified, Mr. Durst, that he never got a chance and you never answered whether or not you had killed Kathy, that you walked away after you made the comment about Susan. Are you telling me you don't remember that testimony?
I thought that testimony was so ridiculous. He says I walked away. People who use wheelchairs and walkers don't walk away.
It's your position that you were in a wheelchair at the time?
I was using a walker at the time.
Well, Mr. Durst, there was nobody with you, correct? You walked to dinner and you'd have to walk out, correct? It's one of those little mistakes that you just made that you weren't counting on, right?
I object to that kind of comment.
Sustained.
I'm not sure what the question is.
Well, you just mentioned about having a walker or a wheelchair, and you came to dinner unaided, correct?
I was aided by the walker.
Right, you walked with your walker to dinner, and you left with your walker after dinner, correct?
Correct.
So can you tell me how the fact that you had a walker would prevent you from making the statement that Nick Chaven alleges that you made?
The way Nick Chaven made the statement was like I ran away, and he didn't get a chance to hear out what he was asking me about Kathy because he walked away so quickly.
Oh, okay. Let's continue, Mr. Durst. You've heard testimony, you would agree, from numerous witnesses who have related that Susan Berman, in essence, told them that she helped you cover up Kathy's death by providing you with a false alibi. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is it your position, as you sit here, that Susan never told those people that, or that she told those people that and they're lying about it?
They or she?
Susan told people that she had provided an alibi for me, and she told at least one person that the way she had provided the alibi was by calling Albert Einstein Medical Center.
So, listen to my question. Maybe you just answered, but I'm not sure. There are a couple of different possibilities, Mr. Durst. Your position could be that, you know what, those witnesses who are saying Susan said that to them are either mistaken or they're lying, or they are neither mistaken or lying. Susan told them that and she was lying. Which is it?
Susan told them that and she was lying.
If that's true, Mr. Durst, would you agree that all of Dr. Loftus's testimony would be completely worthless because in the end it has nothing to do with memory? You're not questioning whether the witnesses were told that. You're merely saying Susan lied when she told them. Is that correct?
Object to the form of the question, argument.
Sustained.
Mr. Durst, would you agree then that if that is the case, that you are not saying that these witnesses are either mistaken or lying, you are simply saying that Susan was lying when she told them that? Is that correct?
That's argument also.
Overruled.
Is that correct?
Well, I've got two questions on my screen.
Okay.
The second one.
When Susan said that she provided me with an alibi, Susan, excuse me, was lying. What this has to do with the psychology lady, I have no idea.
So my question would be, Mr. Durst, do you have an explanation as to why Susan Berman would tell people that you killed Kathy and that you had her basically come up with an alibi for you? Can you explain why she would say that? What would be her reason?
Susan liked to make up stories.
Mr. Durst, you're her best friend, correct?
I never felt, well, maybe, or I'll go along with that.
So the question, would you agree, and we talked about loyalty before, I asked you earlier today if, given Susan's loyalty, if she would have participated in calling Einstein to cover up a killing for you, and your response was maybe she would have, maybe she wouldn't have. Do you remember that exchange?
Correct.
So that explains why she would lie to help you. Can you explain why on earth she would tell her friends that you had killed your wife if you didn't do it?
She liked to tell big stories.
So your position is that she liked to tell negative stories about her best friend, Bob Durst? Is that your testimony?
She liked to tell big stories. I was a big story.
Well, would you agree that, as an example, when she first made the statement to Miriam Barnes, which you are now not disputing, I just want to be clear. So your testimony is now, I'm not disputing that Susan Berman told Miriam Barnes, I did something today and I did it for Bobby. You're not disputing that Susan said that. You're saying, yes, Susan said it, but it wasn't true. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then the next statement, if anything ever happens to me, Bobby did it. Why would she say those statements to Miriam Barnes?
Well, she said it to lots of people. My answer is the same one I said before, that Susan liked to make up big stories.
My question, though, Mr. Durst, is you're her best friend. You would agree she cared a whole lot about you, is that right?
Correct.
Why would she make up a horrible story that wasn't true about you allegedly killing your wife? Can you in any way explain that?
She liked to tell big stories.
Well, when you say big stories, what you're saying is you mean she liked to make up lies accusing her best friend of murder? Is that your testimony?
That's my testimony.
Does that make sense to you, even if it's true? Does that make sense to you?
It is true.
Does it make sense?
Well, the question is, does Susan Berman make sense?
So I assume by that answer, then what you're saying is listen, it doesn't make sense, I can't explain it, but that's what happened. Is that correct?
Well, these various people who Susan told that she had given me an alibi, I never knew anything about it until these proceedings started.
So, Mr. Durst, I want you to think for a moment. You're saying that Susan Berman liked to make up stories, is that correct?
Correct.
How would she have known to tell Miriam Barnes, right after it happened, that she had done something today for you? What would she have been referring to?
I don't know if that's any different from your previous question. She liked to make up stories.
Well, you're aware that Susan Berman has told people that she called Einstein pretending to be Kathy, correct?
Who did she tell that to?
Wait, you're asking me which witnesses Susan Berman, which witnesses have testified that Susan Berman told them that she called Albert Einstein pretending to be Kathy? You've been in court, Mr. Durst. Numerous witnesses. Would you agree?
I am still not. No, I don't remember any of the witnesses saying that Susan said, I called Albert Einstein.
Well, off the top of my head, Lorraine Newman and Linda Obst, for certain. Do you recall their testimony? They both said that Susan told them she called Albert Einstein pretending to be Kathy. Do you recall that? I believe Mela Kaufman as well. Can you explain that?
I don't recall that, but I am willing to accept it.
So, this is a real important question, Mr. Durst, so please listen to it very carefully. You are aware, Mr. Durst, that the witnesses have testified, those witnesses I just told you, that Susan told them that she called Albert Einstein pretending to be Kathy. That's what you just testified to. My question to you is, Mr. Durst, is if she's making this up, how did she even know at the time she said it that there had been a call to Albert Einstein? She couldn't have known, Mr. Durst, unless you told her, correct?
Objection, that's a narrative on the form of apology. I object to the form of question.
I think you need to break it up.
All right, I'll break it up. Mr. Durst, you would agree that the statements that these witnesses have testified to, where Susan admitted to calling Einstein, that those statements occurred before it was ever publicized that there was ever a call to Albert Einstein in the first place, correct?
I thought statements the witnesses made came long after the newspapers reported that someone, a female voice, had called Albert Einstein and spoke to Dr. Cooperman.
Listen to my question very carefully. You've now testified that you don't have any question that the witnesses were being truthful and accurate in their memories. You've said Susan basically made up what she told them.
Object to the first part of that question. It's not-
Rephrase it.
doesn't reflect the
It's,
testimony.
Mr. Durst, you've now testified, correct, that Susan Berman told these witnesses that she had called Albert Einstein pretending to be Kathy, correct? But that was a lie.
Anyone Susan Berman told that Susan Berman had called Albert Einstein at those calls, Susan Berman was lying.
So, Mr. Durst, the question I'm asking you is not when they reported the statements, because you just said a moment ago that you are not saying that the witnesses are being untruthful. Do you understand? Do you agree?
The newspapers reported that there'd been a telephone call.
You agree, Mr. Durst, that the first time Albert Einstein was ever mentioned was in 2002 in an article by Lisa DiPaolo, correct?
No, Albert Einstein was mentioned shortly after Kathy disappeared.
So it's your position, Mr. Durst, that it was publicized that about the call from Albert Einstein, but let me back up. Not that there was a call, Mr. Durst, but that Susan Berman had made it. Do you understand the idea that Susan Berman made that call was not reported until 2002? Would you agree?
I would not agree.
Well,
It was
Mr. Durst.
reported long before that. I remember Mike Strook went on some TV show and said that he had 3 sightings of Kathy Durst in New York on February 1st. One was a doorman.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah, strike, it's not responsive. Strike it. Jury's to disregard it.
So, Mr. Durst, now you know very well what the judge has instructed you, and what you just decided to do was to see if you could bring in evidence.
Yeah, it's not necessary. I told the jury to disregard it.
Your Honor, can the court instruct Mr. Durst then, because that wasn't an accident?
Your Honor, he's only making it worse.
Well,
Yeah, that's true too. Jury's to disregard it, Mr. Durst. Don't.
Mr. Durst, listen to my question.
You don't want me to answer the question.
No, listen to my
The
question.
judge does not want me to answer the question either.
Listen,
How can I answer the question if I'm instructed not to talk about what the answer is?
Mr. Durst,
Mr. Durst?
listen to my question.
Yeah, no, you listen to the question and listen to only the question. He's not gonna ask you about what other people said or supposedly said. He's not gonna ask you about that. He's gonna ask you something else. I won't let him ask anything else. So you may ask, listen to the question that he does ask.
Mr. Durst, the question that I'm asking you is, if Susan Berman, having been the person who allegedly made that call, was not reported until after her death, how was it that witnesses were able to come in here and testify that before Susan Berman died, she had told them that she had called Albert Einstein pretending to be Kathy? Can you explain how that's possible?
Susan, it was reported long before Susan Berman died that Dr. Cooperman had received a call from a female voice that said she was Kathy Durst and that she could not come into school that day, which was February the 1st, because she was sick.
So, Mr. Durst, that's not my question. My question is, you're saying Susan Berman made up the idea. She made up this alibi of allegedly calling the dean pretending to be Kathy. But my question to you is, Mr. Durst, she was telling people that she was the person who called the dean before it was questioned in the media that anyone other than Kathy had made the call, correct?
No, not correct. I will tell you again. It was reported in the papers that there was a call made and that some people were questioning it.
Mr. Durst, would you agree that if Susan Berman were telling people that she made a call pretending to be Kathy, that there are only 2 choices? Either she did that, or she's deliberately lying and making it up. Agreed? Only 2 choices.
I've repeatedly said the same thing. Susan told lies.
Okay?
Susan Berman did not call Dr. Cooperman at Albert Einstein.
So,
Susan Berman could not have called Dr. Cooperman at Albert Einstein because
motion to
Susan-
strike at this point is non-responsive.
Okay.
No, it is not.
Let's see, hold on.
No, he doesn't get the answer.
I'm sorry?
He didn't get the completed answer, Your Honor.
Okay, well, there are objections. Hold on a minute. Total lies. Two graves, Susan Berman telling people that there's only 2 choices. She's deliberately lying or making it up. 2 choices. Said the same thing. Susan told lies. It's non-responsive. Strike it.
Mr. Durst, listen to my question. What I'm asking you is, you are now saying that Susan Berman lied, that she made up the fact that in essence you murdered your wife. I'm asking you, can you explain why she would have done that to you?
Susan Berman liked to tell big stories.
And it's your belief, Mr. Durst, that in liking to tell big stories, that you would be telling somebody falsely that you had murdered your wife? Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't make sense. But Susan Berman did not make sense.
Okay, let me continue. Is there any reason why you're aware of that Miriam Barnes would have made up the story that Susan told her this?
No.
And you are aware,
I overruled the objection. The answer stands.
you are aware from the evidence, Mr. Durst, that Miriam Barnes spoke about this to her friend Stephen Greenhouse shortly after Susan's murder, years before any of the information about a fake call to the dean or the cadaver note was ever in the press. Agreed?
Compound.
Sustained.
You would agree that Miriam Barnes spoke about what she knew to her friend Stephen Greenhouse, and that the information that she had told Stephen Greenhouse years before any of the information was in the press involved the fake call to the dean or the cadaver note. Is that correct?
I object to the form question.
Now it's not a compound.
It is compound there. I think there are 4 questions there.
Well, okay, Your Honor, if I
Ask
have
all 4 of them.
if I have 2 predicates, you know what? That's fine. I'll break it one at a time.
Yes, please.
You're aware that Miriam Barnes spoke to her friend Steve Greenhouse. Is that correct? You've heard the testimony?
Object
Overruled.
or
Overruled.
I am aware that Miriam Barnes said that I was an arrogant asshole. I am also aware that this phone call that Dr. Cooperman got from a female voice saying, "This is Kathy Durst and I'm sick," was in the media long before
Motion to strike
Susan
is non-responsive.
Berman died.
Stricken.
Mr. Durst, listen to my question. Are you aware that Miriam Barnes spoke to Stephen Greenhouse many, many years before Susan Berman was ever murdered and told him what Susan Berman had allegedly said to her? Are you aware of that?
Your Honor, may we have a sidebar so I can explain my objection?
I haven't heard your objection.
Sorry?
I haven't heard an objection.
I object. May we have a
What are the
sidebar
grounds?
So I don't have to make a speaking objection.
Well, try grounds. I might sustain it if I know what your objection is.
Here's
You-
that. He wasn't present
Yeah.
for any conversation.
He's
Okay.
testified.
Right. Overruled.
Is there a question to me?
Okay, let me ask it again. Are you aware, Mr. Durst, that Stephen Greenhouse has testified in this case that Miriam Barnes related to him what Susan Berman had told him many, many years before Susan Berman was murdered?
That is what I have been saying. Susan Berman was telling people from way back shortly after Kathy disappeared that she, Susan Berman, had played a major role in providing her friend Robert Durst with an alibi.
Okay, so Mr. Durst, based on what you've said, would you agree that I don't need to go through and ask you questions about what Lorraine Newman testified to, what Linda Opes testified to, what Mela Kaufman testified to, what Susie Harmon testified to, what Robin Morse testified to, because your position is that they are simply repeating accurately what Susan told them, but that Susan's original statement was a lie. Is that correct?
On the question, compound.
No, it's not compound. I'm trying to save some time here, Your Honor.
No, I appreciate that. Maybe I'll. Well, it's actually about 8 questions. So you can move fast though.
All right. Mr. Durst,
Just, put out the premise and then go
All right.
name, just the question, just the name. Miriam
Fine.
Barnes, and then
Mr.
the
Durst,
next one, and then
so-
the next one.
So you would agree, at this point, that you're not questioning the substance of Miriam Barnes' testimony about what Susan Berman told her? You're only questioning whether the original information was true, is that correct?
I am not disputing that Susan Berman told lots of people big stories.
All right, and would those people include, and I don't believe this is compound, Your Honor, Lorraine Newman, Linda Obst, Mela Kaufman, Susie Harmon, Robin Morse, Ricky Ring?
I would agree.
Okay. Sure, great time, Your Honor.
It is 10 after 3:25 will return. Do not converse among yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected with this case. Do not form or express any opinion on the case.